Yeah, that is my slide for today. So I do a fair bit of public speaking. So my apologies for a start is that, to the cameraman probably more than you guys, that I am rubbish at standing still. It's how I've built my business, is constantly on the move. So I cannot do it doing this either. So my story. So to start with, I'll go all the way back for you. So I started as a professional footballer, and I managed to do a whole season as a professional footballer. So that was my first career, before getting injured. And my injury actually then took me into a very privileged position that the PFA would then, because I was an injured professional footballer, would pay 80% of my tuition fees for university. So I thought, not a bad thing. 3 years to sort my life out. The only thing I've ever wanted to do was be a footballer. So now I can spend 3 years finding out what the other side of the world was like and going to university. So that's what I did. I studied business. Oh, wow.
Is it? Yeah. So I'm worried about burning.
Do you need me to stand this side, Ash? Is that the problem?
It needs to go completely cold before you can turn it back on.
Let's not do that then. So, like I said, I then went off to university. I studied business studies. I left university and got my first sales job. It was selling telephones. I was terrible. I lasted 8 weeks. I realised probably at that point, or should have realised at that point, I wasn't meant to work for anybody else. I didn't. Luckily, very luckily, one of my friends worked in the football industry, invited me back into football to go and do some coaching. I spent 8 years coaching in Football League and Premier League, academies and recruitment. Got some great stories. I won't tell them here. If you see me later on tonight, I might tell a few of them. So did that, and then I decided after spending those 8 years at 4 different clubs, travelling around the country, that I was going to start my own business. Why would you do that? And started a sports business. So we deliver PE into primary schools, after school clubs, holiday clubs, breakfast clubs, with qualifications to PE teachers. So we're the only company south of London that delivers the entire primary school PE curriculum qualification. So all the way from level 2 all the way to level 6. So I started that business, and I didn't start it in the best way. So I thought I knew a lot about business. I'd been to university for 3 years. I'd studied. I was like, I've got this, not a problem. I started my first business. I had 3 contracts. I had an £8,000 wage bill the first month, and I started it with £1,000 in my mum's dining room. It wasn't great, was it? But we managed to get there. It did genuinely take an awful lot of hard work because I'd started it on totally the wrong footing. And one of the things that whenever I meet people building and growing businesses is that actually if you get the foundations right, so smaller business, get the foundations, then it becomes a lot easier to scale and build. I unfortunately didn't do that, and it wasn't until about 18 months in where I had a similar experience actually to Ash, that I looked in my bank account after the first year and I'd made a profit of £2,500 after paying myself, and was kind of like, this is not for me. Why am I busting my nuts every day earning this sort of money, working 80 hours a week? Yes, I've got 4 staff. Yes, I had an office. From the outside, it looked wonderful, looked brilliant. But internally, it was absolute chaos. We hadn't got a website. I didn't know how to build a website. I had no idea really how to do any HR work. I had staff that were running riot. I had 3 members of that team, about 2 years in, actually start their own business with inside my business, doing exactly the same thing. So it was a pretty steep learning curve. I finally got some support, some coaching, and started to realise that the things that I was doing, where I was focused, I was out delivering PE every day, was actually in the wrong places, and that I needed to be building and running the business, not doing the do every single day. So luckily, got some coaching, got some education. I also made one crazy appointment, which went very differently to your family. I appointed my sister as our, at the time, bookkeeper. She's now our financial director. And we went from £2,500 in the first year to around about £60,000 in our second year. And all that happened was that somebody that knew how to get the money that we were earning through the door into the business, and that was the change. What it taught me was this, that if you're running and building a business, and particularly it's small, you need expert people. It's okay being good at most things, but you need to have certain positions that you're expert at. And if you're not, don't try and make yourself better. I think Gary Vee talks about it an awful lot, and I'm not a huge Gary Vee fan, but he is 100% right with this one. If you're a 4 at accounts and finance, and by the way, I teach now back at university, which I find hugely ironic. I was a terrible student. And the one lecturer that does not speak to me is the finance and accountings lecturer. He remembers me. I left 14 years ago. He remembers me. He's still there. He doesn't talk to me. He still remembers me. I was terrible at it. I still am. I can read a profit and loss. I can understand figures. But I need it presented in a certain way to me for me to be able to understand it. And I only need the bits that I want. Does that make sense? So I think sometimes we get caught up in knowing everything. And actually, a lot of the time we just need great people to be able to trust and count on, to allow them to do the jobs that you've appointed them to then enable them to build and help you grow your business. So my sister was a revelation for me. It changed my business overnight. I no longer had to go in every morning and I can remember it. Ironically, I don't have, and I think it still exists, that we bank with HSBC, commercial banking, and they used to have a key fob. I think it still exists. I can remember the day I handed it to my sister. I can no longer get in my business bank account. I cannot get a bill paid any quicker in my business than anybody else. I get people phone me all the time, James, I forgot to send you an invoice last month. I've sent it to you today. Can you get it paid? No, I can't log into my business bank account. Literally, she's employed to do that job. That's the job she does. We have a weekly, on a Monday morning, staff meeting. She presents the week's figures, and we have a monthly sum up at the end of each month of what happened. I have the figures that I want. She knows what I want. The rest of the team know the figures that they need. And it's enabled me to build and do what I do, which is kind of go out and create and build. I'm a terrible completer finisher. I'm terrible. And it's really easy for people, and I heard it earlier, to stand up here and talk about all their successes. But I think it's really important that everybody also understands and hears that sometimes it's not all perfect. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible completer finisher. I am awful. I don't think there has been a single thing in my business from start to finish that I've actually totally done. Never. I'm pretty sure of it. Because I start things, and I'm very lucky. We now have a recruitment process that identifies it. And it's the detail is that bit. Is if you're working in a small business, what is it that you need to no longer make it a small business? Or make it the business that you want it to be? So if you're like me, be really self-aware of your weaknesses. And I would encourage everybody to write down the things that you're not good at. Because now replace them. Replace you in your business at what you're not good at. Because that will help you grow your business. So I know that I'm a terrible completer finisher. So guess what? We employ quite a lot of completer finishers. Because I go, I think you talked about it earlier, I've got a new idea. It's going to be brilliant. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And we draw it out, we get it all sorted, I get it to a point, and about 3 months in, I lose interest. And my genuinely, about 3 months in, I lose interest. I have the attention span of a gnat. If you're lucky enough to meet my fiancée at any point, she thinks I'm bipolar, I swear. Because literally, I will start a project. Now, my problem is this. So I have a number of businesses. One of them is the school sport business that I've talked about. The other one is an education and training business. And again, I don't mind speaking to this room, although it is on video. I got 4 GCSEs. I was a terrible student. I was awful. All I was ever going to be was a footballer. I now own an education and training business. I find it massively ironic at times. But I've got all these people with degrees and like masters. I barely could write English. They've all come into my business and been able to take my business to the next level. But what I do is I do the ideas bit. I do the fun bits. I do the bits that I enjoy, that really love. And the bits that I struggle with, I know that I struggle with. And there is a whole list that all of you have that's been there for weeks and months that you're going to finish. Yep, there's some nods. And you go, I'm just not in the mood for that today. You look at it again next week and you go, I'm not in the mood for that today. But it's the one thing that will change your business. How quickly could you change your business if you could get somebody to take that project from where it is now to finished for you? And ironically, I've sacrificed salary at points. So in my business, 2.5 years ago, I took a pay cut because I wanted somebody else into my business. Some people would say you're crazy to do that because the business is there to work for you. But I really wanted that person into my business because I knew that they were going to change my business. They had skills that I just didn't have. And I needed them. They were better than I was, ultimately. So I took that little hit. It was okay. I was fine with it. That person came in within 6 months. They'd made me more than I was taken as a cut. And I could put my salary back up. And I'm still in that position now because unfortunately in education and training, at £3 to £5 million in turnover, we are an absolute baby. In training terms and education terms, until you get to about 30 or 40 million pounds, nobody is interested in you. So I was a bit late this morning at lunchtime because I'd gone into the office this morning. And so in September, we got given a national contract for delivering apprenticeships. And what it's also taught me is that trying to run anything at scale and at large numbers, it makes everything so much more magnified. So as small business owners, how do you get all the devil in the detail ready? So you're starting a new business next year. How do you get the devil in the detail ready? Because when it does explode, and it was interesting, I think it was Emma that was talking about her photography business, how do you get it that it's ready to go like that? And what are you going to do? So I don't mind talking about this too much, but I lost my mum in June. And for the first time ever, I actually took 3 weeks off before she died and nearly a month off after. And what it did was it did two things. It made me realise that my business was right because my team did not have to phone me once. They left me alone. Didn't phone me once. The only time they phoned me was nearly a month afterwards. And in the education and training industry, we have a couple of people who realise that you can earn an awful lot of money, but they're not ethically in it for the right reasons. And they'd taken money off about 1,000 people and never registered them with the awarding body, so the exam board. So I get a phone call. This business has gone bankrupt overnight. They've got 1,000 learners. They've taken a lot of money off every single one. And our phones are literally on fire. James, I think you need to come back to the office to help. And I went back and walked through the door and everybody was all hands to the pump. And the other thing that I would say with this is I've never written a business plan. I've never written a business plan in my business. There are people within my business that have had to build parts of plans that I've signed off. But I've never built a business plan because, again, it was alluded to earlier, some of the best businesses are just to be able to take an opportunity and run with it. So this opportunity came, the phones were ringing off the hook, everybody kind of looked at me and said, what do we do, James? Gut instinct, absolute gut instinct this was. I went, well, the course is 700 quid and they've already paid that minimum to another provider. If we say we could do it for 400 for them, we're not going to make a lot of money out of it, but we are going to help 1,000 people. Sure enough, 1,000 people on the roll. My team, bless them, since June have been working their socks off. I was talking to Robin earlier. I saw on CCTV last night 2 of them leave at 1:45 in the morning. Yeah, absolutely slammed. But they've all bought into the vision and dream. Like they could have easily gone home at 5 o'clock, all of them. But they didn't because they were invested in what we're trying to do. And again, it was alluded to earlier that one of the things that I did when I started to build the business was that I had a vision of what we wanted to be. And one of them was, although I work in a very, very regulated industry, was that I was going to create inside the business a training department that meant we could take anybody we wanted. There was nothing going to stop us. And for the first 3.5 years, I had to take qualified people. And that meant that I would put out an advert, and it still happens to this day, we'd put out an advert for a full-time sports coach, an apprentice marketing person, whatever it might be. And we would get application after application after application, and particularly with the school sports coaching jobs, we'd get hundreds. And we'd look through it, and by the time we got through it, there was probably 9 people qualified to do it. So we had 100 applicants, 9 people. And we could only take those 9. And the problem with the 9 was that they'd been doing it for a while, they didn't do it our way, they already knew how to do it, they knew better, they wanted to come and do it the way that they'd done it at the previous business. Like, it just didn't fit. And we had so many problems. So many problems. So my thing to you would be that if you're in a point where you're going to try and start to scale your business, and I think you're probably all here because you want to do that, is that what are the things, what are the processes, if you work in a regulated industry like I do, what do you need to do to be able to not just take it to 10,000 a month, but 20,000 a month, 50,000 a month, 100,000 a month? Because if you think that way, and we were talking about luck, it's not luck. None of it is luck. You earn your own luck. That if you think that way, when that moment comes, and it will come for everybody, it might be a year in, 5 years in, 10 years in, but it will come. Are you ready to take it? We were very lucky, and no, lucky is the wrong word. We were planned and ready. Because when that happened in June, we were able to upskill 2 members of staff very quickly because we didn't have to take anybody anymore that was qualified. We could train our own people. So we identified 2 people within the business that we went, you know what, you've been with us a while, you're invested in us. And by the way, one of them was one of the people that was leaving at 1:45 last night. And we were able to upskill them internally. Didn't have to put them out to a training company. Didn't have to have somebody else tell us how our staff were going to be trained. They had our way. And they were invested in our way. Those people now are being able to expand us. We've gone from absolutely nowhere. And what I'm talking about is a personal training course. We don't deliver it. We're talking about personal training courses. So we went from absolutely nowhere, and it's something that I dreamed about doing for a while, coming from a sports background. And I'd been through probably 4 heads of department in 4 years, trying to get this thing going and get it right. And that happened in June. From nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. They went bankrupt. 3 weeks ago, another one went bankrupt. And sure enough, what happened, sat at home on a Friday night, and yes, I am that rock and roll, one of the people that we'd helped had found my Facebook and said, literally added me as a friend and messaged me saying, James, you don't know me, but one of your team helped me with my personal training course in June when said company went bust, and then you named them then. I've got a friend, she's in exactly the same position with another company, named the company. Can you help her? My response was obviously, absolutely yes. We're now probably the 4th biggest personal training provider of qualifications in the country in June to December. Just by being ready. I didn't do anything good. I didn't do anything fantastic. I was just ready. It hasn't made me a huge amount of money. I've not become a millionaire off the back of it, but I was ready. And also, like we were talking about earlier, I think with someone at the back, we've done it not because we're going to make millions out of it, but it puts the industry right because we work in that industry as a training provider. And also, I hope, it might not happen, but I hope that by helping 1,500 people, that some of those will have a great experience, and in the future, if you were going to become a personal trainer, who would you ask?
Personal trainer.
The person that's training you. How did you become a personal trainer? And this is what I was talking about earlier, about knowing your marketing. Like, we get a lot of social media with personal training courses now, because we've become quite well known and established. So we do all right out of social media. But the one that we're going to do really well out of, hopefully, is our ambassadors. Like I said, young lady, it was only the team's diligence. She'd signed up to do the course on one of our courses, and it was a financed course. And before they'd put the finance through, one of them noticed she'd got 90,000 followers on Instagram. Phoned her up. I didn't know, by the way, this. Phoned her up and said, hey, we run an ambassadors program. Would you like a code? And we'll also, just as a goodwill gesture so that you can see how good we are, we'll do your course for free. Literally, daily, we get a call from her social media. So knowing, being clever, being bright, that doesn't cost us any money. It doesn't really cost us any money. It costs us £700 a course. In that course, I've actually probably got £200. So I've got £200 worth of cost in it, so it cost me £200 to deliver her course. So for £200, she sends me a lead every day. Anybody happy with that piece of marketing? Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, so it doesn't have to be high-cost stuff. How can you be creative as small businesses? You know, you might work in an industry that's really difficult. Our school sports industry, we did some referral campaigns. So we got teachers, head teachers, to refer us. And how, actually, me and Ash put it together in Birmingham one day. And it was as simple as this. We sent them a letter saying, we deliver your PE. We just want more customers just like you. Can you send this on to somebody else for us and tell them and help them? And we got loads. We do another one where we send them a beanbag and a hoop. Literally wrapped up, bow on it, beanbag and a hoop. And all it's got inside it is a little letter that says, this is the key to outstanding PE in your school. If you want to know more, call this number. Mystery. Again, the hoop is about £4 and the beanbag is about £1. The postage is £3. But an average school contract is about £20,000. Plus, I can then add a breakfast club, an after-school care club, a holiday club, a Saturday morning club. I can treble the amount of money that I make from that school sports contract. So if you're thinking now, how are you going to make your business grow? It doesn't need to be something amazing. It might be 1%. It might be one little thing that you change. How can you take more money out of the pockets of the people that already love you to help you grow? I'll say that again. How can you take more money out of the people's pockets that already love you? You'll have screaming fans every single day because you're all here, you're all bright business owners, you all want to grow, you all want to get better. How can you take more money out of those people that already love you and will happily give you money to help you grow? And we as like business owners, we're really kind of funny about that. We're kind of like, oh, well, that's not very nice talking about people like that. Why should I take more money off people when they've already paid me like a lot of money? But they're happy to give it you. They'll go and spend it with somebody else if you don't take it. We talk all the time about, so part of the reason that we do breakfast clubs, after school care is 3 till 6. After school club is 3 till 4 or 3:30 till 4:30, depending on your school. Saturday morning club and holiday clubs. I've got 5 products that I sell to the same people That department is in a constant sales cycle, literally a constant sales cycle. At the moment, we have just done re-enrolments for January after-school clubs and after-school care clubs. We are in a constant sales cycle. We'll go back in January and we're into a sales cycle for February half term. It's constant. But those people never phone up and go, we hate you. And I find it really ironic that some of the people in the office, they phone up and they constantly think they're talking to friends now half the time because they've got to know our parents. And our parents are really happy. We're not the cheapest either, by the way. So we're not the cheapest for after-school clubs, after-school care and holiday clubs. But our parents aren't looking at other companies going, I could save £2 a day. I'll take that, I'll send them over there. They've already got a buy-in. We did make a mistake, and this is one that I will give you, is don't make it too easy for your customers. Because we made a mistake, we built a new website, and you can now book anything on our website once you've done your initial booking, once you've set up your account, in 7 clicks. From a tablet, a mobile, a laptop, anything. 7 clicks. Guess what my real problem is? Anybody want to guess?
People booking they wanting to cancel, so
No.
they're too quick.
What? You don't talk to people as much, but that's not my biggest problem.
Too many? Too many people?
No. If you know you can do it in 7 clicks, what happens? You don't. When do you do it? Night before. No, we just literally don't know what our sales numbers are until the night before. Imagine, as a regulated industry as we are, we have to work to under 8, 1 to 10, over 8, 1 to 15, and the night before, all of our parents go, time to book. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. So how can you combat that now? We've made that problem for ourselves. It's my fault. I wanted to make it better. I've made it a little bit more difficult for myself. My parents love it. My parents absolutely love it. So what can I now do to kind of give me a bit of control back? I change the price. I have a cut-off time. So literally February half term, the reason that we're working quite well forward now, first week in January, our February half term stuff goes out, our marketing, and if you book before the 9th of February, it's a price. After the 10th of February, it's a different price. And we've got to make that big enough to make sure our customers want to do it early, because ultimately I want it in our bank rather than in their bank. So you're constantly going to find issues and problems. Staffing is an absolute nightmare for my industry. We genuinely have a glass ceiling for a lot of our employees, and it's about 22 grand a year, which means that we have a constant turn, constant churn. So again, how, if you're working in that sort of industry where, who was it that said they've got a lot of staff? Was it? Yeah, been through a lot of stuff. Like, no matter what you do, you're going to go through staff. Accept it. Ironically, I had 1 or 2 people that when I first started, I thought they'll be there forever. We're in it together. Like, we're literally all of us. We're going to take over the world together. Like me and my tripod. None of them are still there. Not one of them. They've all gone on to better things, by the way, most of them, which is great, and I'm really proud of that, and I still speak to all of them. There's only 1 member of staff that's left that I don't speak to. Go on, you look like you had a question. Yeah, sister's still there. Do you know what? I've also got a husband now as well. I think she's trying to... No. No, but... So Kate came in and it was a changing moment for my business because she was an expert. And then what it did is it made me also realise this, that she'd come from quite a big business, so to come to my business, it was like she could do it no problem at all. Like the figures that she was having to deal with, it was done. Like it was like, what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next? And it rapided our growth massively. So then the next bit was that I needed a sales director, and they're the 2 that have changed my world. Is A sales director and B a finance director. Those were the 2 things that changed my world. And ironically, they were 2 family members. My sister's husband came from a big BT business, and my sister came from a finance business. So they changed my world, though. There is ways that you can do it that aren't going to cost you a fortune as a small business. You can get a bookkeeper for sensible money on a daily basis. What I'd say is this. You see it quite a lot, that people outsource. I'm not a huge outsourced person. I like to have the control. The minute you start going, I'm going to get a finance person in Hull because they're 30 quid a day cheaper to do it than someone that can come and sit in your office, I don't like it. That's my personal opinion, because I like to be there. I like to be able to look them in the face. I like to be able to quiz them. I like to be able to know what I want, what I need at that moment. But that's just me. You might be really comfortable with that. We have a few designers that we use off platforms. People Per Hour is one of our platforms. We use it all the time. Like I said, I'm terrible at the written word. I am awful. So any press releases or anything that come from me, ironically, they don't come from me. I literally audio them, send them on People Per Hour to someone, pay them 20 quid, it comes back within a couple of hours, and I'm done. In that time, I've earned more than £20. Like you might have seen this afternoon, I was on my laptop very quickly. I had to get something to a client this afternoon, literally, because it needed to go out the door. So how can you be as effective as possible? I've seen people in the past go, well, I do this every single day, and like it changes my world. But what are you actually doing with your time? There's this whole 5 a.m. club, and it drives me potty. 5 a.m. club, I get up at 4:30, and I go to the gym, and then by 5:30 I'm out, and I'm in the office for 6. By the way, I did it. I did do it. I bought into it. I was just creating more time to do more faff, most people. How do you structure your time? So I have 5 businesses right now. So I could go 1 day a week, but I don't. I literally have a sheet, A tasks, B tasks, C tasks. A task must be done today, B tasks I'd like to get done today, C tasks they can wait till tomorrow if they have to. And then move up and down as they go. But that's the way I work. And I'm pretty blunt. That's the other point, is I see a lot of small business owners want to be nice to everybody, and that's fine, be nice, because we all got to play together, but you've also got to cut through some of the rubbish, because there is a lot of rubbish in small businesses. If you need someone to do something, and some of you might know Kate Lester. So Kate, I was on a long dog walk once with Kate, and Kate heard me on the phone to a staff member, and I got off the phone and Kate went, why do you ask for a favour? Because I'd said to this person, can you do me a favour and can you do this for me by the end of the day? And they went, yeah, no problem. And I put the phone down. She went, why do you ask for a favour? She said, you can be nice and polite. She said, but you don't need to ask for a favour. She said, you could call that person back and say, hi, Paul, I need you by the end of the day to do this. Thank you. You said, you don't need to ask for a favour. They're not there for like, Paul, oh my God, I need you to do this, because if you don't, all you're doing is asking them to do a simple instruction. Cut through it, be professional with them, get the best out of your team. And if you don't have a team, how are you going to build your team? Because ultimately, you have to leverage time. You have to be able to leverage it. If you can't leverage your time, you will constantly and always be selling your time for money. So how can you get yourself to a point? You might have a job that you're sitting here right now that you know that needs doing. How are you going to get it done that you don't have to do it by tomorrow morning? Like I said, there's something that I had to do this afternoon that I very quickly bashed out. I will email it to the guy in a minute, and I know that by tomorrow morning when I see him in the office, it'll be done. I'm really lucky. I'm a terrible completer finisher. I know what I'm like. I've literally given him the bare minimum. The guys that were sat next to me are probably like, what the hell was that? Because it was 2 pages of just numbers and kind of like tiny little sentences. But he knows what that means. He's going to make that nice and pretty for me, and he's going to get that to my client. So how can you leverage your time and make yourself the most efficient person? It's the only way. You have got 1,000,001 jobs. You've got a list that is longer than you will ever know. Embrace it, but also how can you get stuff off it?